Hi,
Hello.
and welcome to True Crime Chats with Abby and Lauren.
I'm Abby.
And I'm Lauren.
So today we're going to be talking about the Hinterkaifeck Murders, and I'm just going to put a disclaimer, if I'm mispronouncing that, sorry about it, because that's how I'm going to be pronouncing it the whole time.
Yes. Before we get into the case, we just want to say that we mean no disrespect to any of the victims or the victims' families or anyone involved in this crime. This case will be dealing with some distressing content, so if that's not for you, then click off. And today the case is presented by Abby because I did the Eliza Lamb case last week.
Yep, so we're swapping.
Yes.
Alrighty, so Hinterkaifeck Murders were a series of murders in Germany in 1922 of the Gruber family. I think there's two last names in that family, but we'll just call them the Gruber family. In their isolated family farm named Hinterkaifeck, which I think roughly translates to the house behind the woods.
Okay,
in German.
yeah.
So I'm going to start by giving some social and cultural context because I think it's important for some of our theories later on.
Okay, sure.
So in the early 1920s, Germany was in a post-World War I struggle with issues surrounding them such as a nationwide debt from both the war itself and also having to pay reparations to France and Great Britain. As well as this, Germany lost 13% of its landmass as part of the Treaty of Versailles. The German government's solution to this was to print more money, which
doesn't work.
just inevitably led to hyperinflation, which resulted in the devaluation of the German mark, which at the time was like their dollar, which is now use a euro, but it was a mark at the time. The value of their money became so worthless that families started burning the money to help them keep warm because that was actually worth more.
Wow.
Than
that must have been such a hard
try and
time.
spend the money because it was just like insane. And so now I'll move on to some family history. So the Gruber family consisted of Victoria Gabriel, who was 35. This was at time of death. Her two children, Joseph, who was 7, and Cecilia, who was 2. And Victoria's parents were Andreas and Cecilia Gruber. As well as the family living in the house, they also had a maid that lived with them by the name of Maria. Can't pronounce her last name. Maria. Maria was only on her first day of the job before her and the entire Gruber family were murdered.
Oh, shit.
The previous maid had left just a week before the murders due to believing that the house was haunted by evil spirits. When questioned by the police about her beliefs, she claimed that she would constantly hear sounds from the attic, as well as constantly experiencing an eerie sensation of being watched. Victoria had a husband named Carl Gabriel who died during World War I. As well as this, Victoria had a relationship with the family's neighbour, Lorenz Schlittenbauer. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that last name. With many people attesting that Lorenz and Victoria publicly claimed that Lorenz was the father of Victoria's son, Joseph. As well as this, however, people had also heard that Victoria was claiming that Joseph was the son of her and Carl. So it's like no one actually knows who Joseph belongs to in terms of fatherhood. But Victoria and Lorenz were actually planning to get married, but Victoria's father, Andreas, refused to allow them. And so he ended up marrying a different woman instead. The reason that Andreas didn't allow Victoria and Lorenz to wed is because there were rumours that Andreas and Victoria were in an incestuous relationship. It was because of this rumour that some people also believed that Joseph could be the son of his own grandfather, which is gross.
Very.
Andreas was known for his incestuous and violent tendencies within the town. There are theories that Andreas had other children, but Victoria was the only child to make it into adulthood.
Oh, shit.
Because he was known to just, like, beat the crap out of people,
Oh my
I guess,
God.
and, like, he was
And I mean, during
abusive.
those times, there wouldn't have been a lot of...
So, yeah, some people believe he was such a violent father that, like, Victoria was the only person to
That's so sad.
live. Yeah. Okay, so now I'm going to start getting into the more scary
Gruesome
stuff, I guess.
part.
I'll give a warning before I give the description of the injuries because they're very graphic and we'll put like a timestamp as to where you can skip. About a week before March 31st in 1922, Andreas Gruber started noticing some strange things happening around his farm. So 2 keys went missing from the family's house. A newspaper was found in the home that no one had purchased or claimed to purchase. And one morning, there was fresh footsteps in the snow leading to the house from the forest, but there were none leading away.
Oh, that's so scary. Oh.
Can I just put like a little pin in this for a second? Why would you just discount that?
Yeah. Because if I saw something like that, I would straight away.
Yeah, and leading to the front door.
Yes. Oh my God.
Which is like...
Unless, no, there's like no way that you can actually explain that.
No.
That's so odd.
And it was like in the morning too, so like it had just snowed.
Yeah.
And it's not like someone could have walked there and back and only had those footprints stay after it snowed.
Yeah.
Like it's...
You couldn't even walk back on the original.
No.
But don't you think that the person who walked in would have been wary of the snow? Like...
I don't know. It's weird, right?
Yeah.
It's just a really weird detail. Because it's almost like whoever killed them was like kind of...
Taunting them.
Yeah. And we'll get into it a bit later because there's some more details that are like creepy.
Yeah.
But yeah. On April 1st, the entire town began to grow worrisome as the younger Cecilia had failed to show up for school, and the whole family had failed to attend that week's Sunday Mass, which was a big thing because Victoria, I think, or maybe the older Cecilia rather, she was in the church choir. And they were a very committed family to like Christianity or whatever. And
very religious.
and also their neighbours, every Sunday it was like a routine for them to come by and pick them up and take them to church with them.
Okay.
So that family actually came to the house, but then no one came out, so they were like, okay, well that's weird.
Yeah.
So they just left it. As well as this, the family's mail had begun to pile up in the post office, leading members of the public to question the family's whereabouts. The family's neighbour and Victoria's ex-lover, Lorenz, finally decided to lead a search in order to find them, and he led a few people from the town over to their house. On March 31st, 1922, the entire family at Hinterkaifeck, as well as the maid, was brutally murdered by one or more unidentified people through the use of a mattock. So we'll put a picture here, but a mattock is basically just like a small pickaxe. Andreas, his wife Cecilia, their adult daughter Victoria, and Victoria's daughter Cecilia were all lured to the family's barn one by one before being slaughtered with a pickaxe. Both the maid Maria and the young son of Victoria, Joseph, were murdered in their beds inside the house. The autopsies of the family show the injuries sustained by the victims were absolutely horrific. So this is where I'm going to be talking about the injuries.
So we'll put it,
here. Yeah. The elder Cecilia, so the grandmother, showed signs of both strangulation as well as seven heavy blows to the head, leaving her with a cracked skull. Andreas's face was so mangled that his entire body was caked with blood and his cheekbones were protruding from his face.
That's the force that would just, you'd have to be a really strong male.
Yeah. It's insane. Victoria's skull was also shown to be smashed with 9 star-shaped wounds shown on the right side of her face from where a blunt object had hit her.
Okay.
The younger Cecilia's lower jaw had been completely shattered and her face and neck were covered in intense circular wounds. It is suspected that rather than dying instantly like that of Andreas, Victoria and the elder Cecilia, young Cecilia actually remained alive for several hours after the attack. There are reports that the reason to suggest that is that she had clumps of her hair which had been pulled out, and they believed that she was just like so frightened and shocked that she was stressed and pulling her own hair out. After being murdered in the barn, the family's bodies were stacked up one on top of another and then covered with hay. But they weren't covered very well. It was just kind of like someone...
I wonder if that's a remorse thing.
I think it might be, because as you'll see, inside the house, young Joseph and the maid Maria were also met with gruesome deaths, with Maria suffering several blows to the head and Joseph the same. Both of these bodies were also covered after the murders, Maria's with her bed sheets and Joseph with one of his mother's dresses.
Oh, yeah, so that would either...
Which is...
remorse, maybe he knew them.
I know, it's really weird. Like, because the hay, I would at least partially understand. But he covered Joseph with one of his mother's dresses.
Yeah, that's more of a caring thing.
Which seems like really weird.
Yeah.
Almost like they could be together or something.
Yeah.
It's very strange. For several days after the murders, neighbours reported to having seen smoke coming from the chimney. As well as this, upon inspection of the farm animals and family dog during the investigation after the murders, it was found that the dog had been fed and looked after, as well as the livestock been taken care of. So they had like cows, and the cows had been like milked and stuff like that.
That's...
so like farm chores had been done some days after they had been murdered. As well as this, the murderer or murderers had eaten meals for several days after, as seen by missing food in the household. This means that whoever killed the Gruber family lived at Hinterkaifeck for several days after the murders, with the bodies just in the house.
If only someone like saw that something was going on.
But that's the thing, right? Is that these houses are like about a kilometre apart from each other. Like they have, there's the town, like the central town, and then Hinterkaifeck is like quite far away from anywhere else.
Yeah.
Put a map here, but it's also right next to a forest. So like people wouldn't have just like walked past. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And how often do things even get reported if someone does see something suspicious?
I know, and this is the 1920s as well, and like
Yeah.
it's a farm. It's a farm.
Yeah.
So now we're going to move on to the theories, and there are actually quite a few of these.
There's like
And then
a page and a half.
And then I have some extra information about what happened like after all of it went down and stuff like that. Okay, so initially the police suspected that it may have been a travelling band of robbers or home invaders
Robbery gone wrong?
who were looking for money or other valuables. However, this theory was quickly dissolved as large sums of money were discovered just like around the house during the investigation. And they'd been living there for like several days afterwards, so they would have found it if they were looking for it. As well as this, nothing in the house had been disturbed apart from what was used to cover the family's bodies, the food that was eaten. There were some fires lit in the fireplace, and also the animals were fed and looked after.
Okay.
So like, it wasn't, that was just... Like,
they're not looking for something.
Yeah, and like, it doesn't make any sense. And if you were a robber and then you ended up killing your family, you would get out of there as soon as you could.
Yeah.
There's a theory that Lorenz Schlittenbauer, the neighbour that Victoria had an affair with, or not an affair, a relationship rather, because she, had killed the family because he married this woman whose name I couldn't find, but they had a child who ended up dying in infancy. And so people wondered whether he was both traumatized from the death of his child and also perhaps angry at Andreas for not letting him marry Victoria.
Yeah, so it could be
and they thought that he had killed the family. And they also thought maybe because he was a neighbour, he wanted to extend his land.
Okay.
Because money was really tight back then, and like it was just like basically living in poverty for a long time. They thought maybe that was his way of trying to get that land. The theory was also furthered by the fact that when he discovered all the bodies, because he was the one who led the search party, he was just like strangely calm. And he didn't seem disgusted or repulsed or even afraid and he like handled the bodies.
Oh.
So people were really suspicious that maybe like he had done it. Observers noticed that he acted suspiciously nonchalant while discovering and handling the dead bodies and showed no signs of repulsion or fear. He also knew his way around the farm really easily.
Debunked.
Yeah. Despite this, however, Lorenz was eliminated as a suspect, with police reasoning that his behavioural response to the violence could be a shock reaction.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's so hard to say how someone should react to a murder or a crime.
And also, his knowledge of the farm's like geography could have been easily explained from his relationship with Victoria.
That's true.
And also, they were neighbours, so the next theory, these just keep getting more and more wild, by the way, was that Victoria's dead husband actually wasn't dead, and he came back from the war, and he was infuriated to see that Victoria was with another man, and so he killed the family. However, that didn't last very long because the police interviewed a bunch of the people that he was with when he served his time in the army, and there were like heaps of soldiers that reported seeing his body like after he died in France. So that was quite quickly debunked as well. Although some people still believe it.
I think anything's possible, you know?
Yeah, but there's like quite a few people, like that's one of the leading theories.
Really?
And I personally don't believe that one, I don't think.
Yeah.
But like, the next one is crazy. So the next theory is that Andreas killed the entire family with Victoria out of shame for their incestuous relationship, and then they killed themselves. The reason why people thought this, was that it was like not a secret that they were in an incestuous relationship. Like the whole town knew about it, and so that would have like totally tainted their entire, I don't want to say reputation, but like how the town viewed them. However, that was really quickly dismissed as well because there is no possible way that they could have
done that
inflicted those injuries on themselves.
Yeah.
So like that theory was also debunked. The next theory, which I couldn't find heaps of information on, but I think that's just because it's like quite a throwaway theory, is that there was a mental institution which was not like close by, but maybe within a few kilometers of, or like, I don't know, about like 10 max kilometers from the house.
Yeah.
And there was, at the exact same time, like as these murders, a report of one of the patients escaping.
Okay.
And I think he was known to have a violent history.
Okay.
I couldn't find his name, but he would have been in that area at the time. So people think maybe because the footsteps were coming from the forest.
Okay.
Maybe he escaped and was like just
Did it
mental and like.
But then does that fit with the remorse?
Well, we don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, if he is an escaped mental patient, there are no reports that he knew the family, but I doubt that he did. But like, if he's got some psychological issues going on, then like,
you never know. That's unpredictable.
Yeah, but I don't think that one has very much credit, just because it's like, I mean, that person I don't think was ever seen again.
Oh, how odd.
So like, I mean, that one I honestly believe more than the
missing persons case.
That one I believe more than Victoria's husband coming back, honestly, because like it is a bit far-fetched, especially because it's like German winter in 1920s, and how far would he have had to travel?
Of course.
And also, if he's unhinged, like how would he just disappear after that? But like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's so odd.
So the next one is a paranormal theory.
Oh, I love the paranormal theories.
There's not too much to this theory, but like some people, because of the brutality of these crimes and like the just absolute malice of like because it was insanely violent.
Yeah, clearly.
And like there was no clear person who knew the family that was like an obvious person. Some people think that it was like a ghost, which sounds silly, but like,
I mean,
the
you never
maid,
know.
Yeah, because the old maid believed that the house was haunted, and she would hear, she would hear things coming from the attic all the time. But And also the skulls were sent to a clairvoyant. So the skulls of, I think, about 3 of the bodies, I can't remember which ones, were sent to a clairvoyant after the investigation, or like during the investigation, and they didn't find anything. But like, you know, the clairvoyant, I don't know how they work really, but like they didn't say anything was strange or anything. But other people think that maybe the sounds that the previous maid heard in the attic was Andreas and Victoria in the attic, because there was signs of like disturbance in the attic during the investigation. So like people think either the killer lived up there for a few days beforehand, because remember, things in the house were like out of place.
And I mean, that would give him time to suss out the place and work out, plan it.
Yeah. But people also believe that maybe it was a spot where Andreas and Victoria had their incestuous relations.
Okay, yeah.
So it's a little bit like no one actually knows.
Yeah.
But
I think, just from what I've heard so far, I think if the case happened nowadays, it would be solved quite quick.
yeah, it'd be open and shut.
Yeah.
They'd like do DNA on the something,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, right? Is that this was done in the 1920s, and also there were reports of like the investigation was somewhat. It was like it wasn't as good as it could have been because the search party had led it before the police went.
Oh, yeah.
So like some of the crime scene was like messed up because they didn't know how much of it was changed. But yeah. The next theory is that it was just someone in the town with a personal vendetta, because Andreas, you know, was known to be like not a great guy, and he was like a bit abusive, and obviously had this weird incestuous thing going on with Victoria, which I don't think she was like. I don't know, this sounds bad, but like she wasn't into it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like because she wanted to marry Lorenz, and he wouldn't let her.
Yeah.
So I think it was forced. Another reason why someone from the town might have wanted to hurt the family is because Andreas was known to be a supporter of Nazis, which isn't great. And also leads me to the next theory, was that Nazis themselves wanted to take the land.
Yeah,
So
okay.
There's a theory that like that's why they came a few days beforehand, because they were like sussing out the land and stuff like that, and then they were hoping to just integrate themselves into that without anyone noticing, which like sounds stupid, but then obviously a search party was led. And I don't know if the killer was even still there during parts of the investigation, because there are theories, there's evidence to suggest that they were.
Yeah. You mean like injecting themselves into the case?
No, like they were still in the house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I wonder if the killer was like helping with the search party.
Isn't that creepy to think about?
Because a lot of the time people, like killers do that.
It's like insane. And then the last one was just that someone in the town wanted to take over the farm as a way to make money. Because, or like, you know, survive. Because as I've mentioned a few times, like the economy at this point was just shit. Because it was like the hyperinflation had just like ruined the economy and like all this stuff. So it was really bad. But yeah, those are the theories. I'll just give you some of the like extra info I found about afterwards, and then we can discuss which theories you think might be them. But yeah. So in 1923, which is a year after this happened, the Hinterkaifeck farm was demolished and it was replaced with a memorial for the family. The family's bodies remain buried there to this day, and you can actually go and visit their graves.
Oh, wow.
And pay respects. But 3 of the bodies, or maybe even more, still don't have skulls because they were sent to the clairvoyant and then lost.
Oh, that's creepy.
Yeah, which is part of the reason why this case remained unsolved and still technically is unsolved for so long, because they lost parts of the evidence. But yeah, although the case is still considered cold to this day, there was a police academy in Germany. They reopened the case as a way to educate academy members. And despite the technological advances in police investigations, missing evidence as well as potential disturbance of the crime scene during the initial investigation made it impossible to conclusively identify the murderer. However, despite this, the team of students were able to rule out all except for one of their suspects, which is the one that they believe committed the crime. However, out of respect for the families, they didn't publicly name it, and I don't think they ever will. There was, I read somewhere, I think in like the 80s or 90s, there was another lead that popped up like years later of this woman who claimed that like, she was very old and she claimed someone she knew, like her landlord or something, knew something about it.
I mean, a lot of people probably know a few things.
But
no one's going to come forward.
She went to the police though.
Oh, did she?
And so the police were like, okay, we'll investigate it, but I don't think it
Nothing
led
came
anywhere.
from it, yeah.
Anyways, so that's all my info. So do you have any theories of your own? Or which one do you think is the most plausible?
I don't know. Like, I feel like there's so many possible theories.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? There's not enough information.
Yeah. What do you think?
Man, I mean, I think if it was someone like Lorenz, they would have found out.
Yes.
I feel like you can't have a crime that brutal.
It's someone that definitely hates the family, like they know the family. I think they would know the family.
Yeah, and it's a small town.
Yes.
So it could honestly be anyone in the town.
It could be.
But it's hard to figure out a motive because it could be like they hate the family, but it could also be like they need money or a combination of both. I didn't say this before, but there is a theory that people think the devil himself killed the family because they thought the steps in the snow were like his warning that he was coming, and then the maid thought the house was haunted, and like it was just such a brutal
and there's things
murder.
like that which make you conspire more.
Yeah.
Like there's the few little details about the snow, like the steps in the snow.
And like it was just like such an awful, like the whole thing, and like living in the house afterwards.
Yeah,
is so
disrespectful as well.
Me. Like that's one of the most disturbing details. The fact that they lived in the house and took care of the animals.
Yeah,
that's so weird to me.
So what's your top theory?
I feel like my top theories is probably just someone in the town. But like of the solid theories of like actual, like this is one person that could have done it. Probably the mental patient.
Yeah, that does seem
Which
likely.
Sounds stupid. But like it fits in terms of the type of crime.
Yes. I wonder who it was.
Because if you think about like if someone's willing to commit murders that severe and they live in the town, that wouldn't be a one-time thing.
No.
They would commit multiple murders.
Maybe they fled afterwards.
Maybe, but there was no, I feel like that would have been mentioned.
Yeah. But I
it's a
mean, so
small
many
town.
things, like you don't connect the dots.
What about you? What do you think?
I think it's either the escaped mental patient or someone in the town that had something against them.
Yeah.
I don't know, it seems like a very personal crime, and the individual was very angry, which reflects the murder of all the victims.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's all we have for today.
That's today's case done. Let us know in the comments if you have any ideas of who it may be. And
Could be a few people.
yeah,
That's okay.
isn't that sad?
And leave any theories you might have.
Yeah, let us know.
Or any cases you want us to do.
Any cases you want us to cover. Thanks for watching.
All of our 3 viewers.
Yeah.
Thanks.
We'll see you next time.
That's so awkward.
I've named my pimples Bill and Corky. I was high the other night and literally watched that show.
That's incredible. We should watch that. I love that.
I love that show.